Hello and welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Christy, and I'm sitting here on Christmas Eve for those who celebrate Christmas. So I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I'm here in a cabin. I haven't done like a personal reflective episode in a bit, so let's do it. Let's talk personal reflections as we head into this final week of 2023. This year, I don't know how you feel, but I know how people have been reporting to me during 2023 about how they're feeling about their lives and astrology and questions people have posed to me. So I want to kind of talk about that. And I also want to acknowledge that this was a year. So if you just had a year of almost exponential evolution, transformation, life transitions, this was a year. And I did not think, okay? I hate it when people are like, oh, astrology, tarot, you should have seen that happen. Astrologers and tarot card readers see what they're allowed to see. Doesn't mean we know the exact reason or way something's going to go down. Like, how many astrologers in 2020 said the great conjunctions are on the way, blah da 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 da. And then what was the great conjunction for us all? COVID. That's what happened. None of us saw a worldwide quarantine on the way. Not like that. So we knew that life was changing. 2023, I think, is an interesting year, and I'm still in process from it. I'm recording this 11:30 p.m. exactly, December 23rd, and I'm in Central Time. And I think that if I were to look at 2023 for the collective, the year of the Chariot, the year of really diving into the emotional, taking the reins back in our life, really honoring our spiritual journey, our spiritual path, I would definitely say that this year brought out stuff that was supposed to come to the surface. And if we look at the year as a whole, where the nodes shifted from Taurus and Scorpio into Aries and Libra, this shift is a game changer, in my opinion, in that you were supposed to feel helpless at a certain point when these nodal shifts were taking place. We were supposed to feel at the mercy of some kind of sticky mess. And I think, as I've reported on this podcast, like, the back end of 2023 is a peaceful, more restful type of energy. I would say that this week ahead is a little bit more messy and confronting certain things, yet hiding other things. And so I do feel like this week brings us a little bit of confusion, and at the same time wants us to transform and really embraces the Chariot. I think that when I've said throughout the year that 2023 is incredibly synchronistic, I mean, it comes down to the fact that, we're in the year represented by the Chariot, the sign of Cancer from the numerology perspective. And we end this week, or we go into the final week of 2023 with a very directional moon, full moon in the sign of Cancer. And so I think it's also quite poignant to look at this. And I want to actually open up the chart. I have other, so we'll just do some ASMR here, but I want to open up the Cancer full moon chart herself. Because for those who celebrate Christmas, we kind of have, Mercury's still in retrograde. So for communicators out there, there's just missteps, mishaps, miscommunication, even little things where you may, trip and fall, things like that. Not to put those vibes out there. I'm just saying it's Mercury's being Mercury, the trickster. So there are like those miscommunications that do happen with a Mercury retrograde. And now that Mercury retrograde is back into the sign of Sagittarius, there's a little bit more the mental games, the mental squirreliness, like that is all out here during this holiday week. So I do want to say I am mindful of this because it's going to be, Christmas, and then the 26th at 7:33 p.m. we have the Cancer full moon, 4 degrees of Cancer. And I have the chart here. The way I'll look at this chart, and as we look at the transits, a full moon is letting go and releasing. Now, on this side of the world, the full moon is taking place in winter. So we're releasing and letting go. And it's also a week where there's a lot of disassociation. And I'll get into that on a deeper level. But even on the level of the Cancer full moon, when we're letting go of some major things, with the sign of Cancer representing home and family, this is a holiday season where that does represent home, family, seeing people from our past. Now, I am looking at the actual angles of this chart. So this particular full moon in Cancer on my chart that's set for the Eastern Standard Time takes place at 11 in the 11th house of this chart. Now, I am not using whole house signs. I am using tropical astrology, so Placidus. So I'm looking at this full moon from that perspective. It could even just be through the interwebs. You're receiving some signals, you're receiving a message that can be a little bit, takes you back, very Six of Cups energy, very nostalgia energy. And there is a healing aspect to this. There is I would say, entering this week on faith alone is very helpful. On blind faith. Because there's a little bit not a little bit, a lot of it. Okay, can I just be a blunt, Aries? There's a lot of a blind spot this week. There's a lot of I didn't see this coming. I'm not sure what the truth is. I'm not sure where reality is and what is in perspective. And so we have to be mindful of this week, that Mercury's retrograde, the trickster, is a little bit confused. And I wanted to low key call this episode like Simone Biles and Simone Biles' husband, like, because I was watching the video on TikTok of the interview of Simone Biles' husband talking about how he met Simone Biles, and I was just like, what? This is such a Neptune Square moment. Like, we're heading into a week with mega Neptune squares. We've seen this square. We've seen this square during Sagittarius season, but we're seeing a Neptune square this week between Mercury and Neptune. Mercury being in Sagittarius, but Mercury being retrograde in Sagittarius, and Neptune in Pisces with a full moon. So the energy of this square also takes place with this full moon. The energy of these squares, though, take place directly on the 27th and 28th. So we have the full moon, 26, and also Chiron goes direct on the day of the full moon. Can we just look at the beauty of how astrology, like, so synchronistic, how this year just play by play throughout the year. Just, I love this year for synchronicity. And just, if you don't believe in astrology, just go back and look at the aspects. Like, go back and look at the aspects this year. We had moons where, like, planets, it's just one of those years where it's like, oh yes, this is a mosaic of intercells moving together, weaving together, finding their way. Like, there is a reason and a purpose we are here. But the fact that we end this year with a Cancer, the crabbiest of crab moons, the moon that represents the moon herself. Cancer is ruled by the moon. The crab, the mother that raised us, the community, our mothering energy, the mother wound. Y'all, the mother wound is on the table on the 26th and throughout the week. So I have to be just so honest about how this particular year with this full moon in Cancer, and it's not that we haven't had a full moon in Cancer around the holidays before, because generally around this time we're in Capricorn season, so we're going to see full moons in Cancer very close to the holidays. But this one is so interesting because Chiron going direct on the 26th, I just want to say put a star next to Chiron, because next year Chiron is playing a big role for a lot of people. And Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, going direct, has taken in a lot of information for us. So let me turn this page. Did I write a note for Chiron? I wrote some extra notes for this podcast because I wanted to also direct people to the past, since we're looking at the past. But what I want to say is next year, if we're looking at the ghost of Christmas future, we're actually looking at the ghost of after Easter future. This is a time of looking at where Chiron is now and the story of where Chiron is taking us, taking society, looking at the old, ancient, spiritual, societal, generational wounds, and how the energy of the mother, how the energy of the divine feminine is actually leading us into a different kind of war and into a different kind of battle. Now, how that's going to translate is for everybody, you gotta get good with your inner mother healing. You gotta get good. I don't care if you're 98 listening to this and you're like, there is this deep Gaia mother healing wound that we're all being asked to appreciate, being asked to allow personal nurturing to be our priority this week. If you can, if you already have, peace out in some sort of way. If you can kind of take a break with yourself and be in your own energy. If you can turn off your electronics for a couple of days and just be like, you know what? Had a good run for a good amount of time, but I need to turn off this noise and go inward. That is the highest level of energy you can work with as we go through, especially the 27th and 28th, when, we have Mercury square Neptune, we have the Sun trine Jupiter on the 27th, and that is like this beautiful moment. I honestly feel like this is a miracle energy. The Sun trine Jupiter, Sun in Capricorn trine Jupiter. Now Jupiter is still retrograde for a couple of days, but I think that the energy is so beneficial. It is so healing, and honoring this faith of the week, honoring the fact that even in adversity, even in the deep energy of pain that Chiron has shown us through this retrograde and is still going to show us next year, even through that, and a lot of it could be mental pain because Aries does rule our brain, our head. The 28th, Mercury and Mars are conjunct. And then Mars is up for that square with Neptune. So I would say the whole week this square is activated. But with Mercury and Mars being in the fire sign of Sagittarius, square to Neptune, we've seen the energy. So let me turn this page. So we've seen the energy of this square this year. So let me give y'all some dates. December 16th, the Sun in Sagittarius is square to Neptune. Then November, or earlier than that, the Ghost of Christmas Past, we had on November 27th, Mercury square to Neptune. So we've seen the Mercury square already. This was when Neptune was still in retrograde. So Neptune went direct on December 6th. And now Mercury's in retrograde squaring Neptune. We're going to see this square one more time as Mercury goes direct. Mercury goes direct on January 1st, which I think is so hilarious. It's like a new year and Mercury has made it and is going, okay, time to go forward now. But I do think it's like, okay, so why are we fucking going through this last week where there's these squares that translate to confusion, often can be people that are telling the truth. Like, you might not get the whole truth. But that's why when I watched this Simone Biles and her husband video, and I'm just watching her husband's eyes, I was like, oh my God, he has to, like, I didn't look up his chart, but let me tell you how Neptunian that moment was. And if you have not seen on TikTok or Instagram or whatever the video of Simone Biles' husband, who's like a football player for, I think it's the Green Bay Packers. I think he's a football player for that team. It's the green and yellow where they wear the cheese. Yeah, Green Bay Packers. The cheese. Okay, anyway, so in the interview, he is talking about basically like that he's the catch for Simone Biles, like, and basically like made it all nonchalant. Now in the interview, the part that really just got me was like her reaction to him being like, oh, he's the catch, and that she had to like pursue him, all this bullshit, right? So I'm watching this, I'm watching his eyes, I'm watching her reactions to him like being all in his ego, and all I can think of is this is totally an example of like a Mars Neptune square. Like, ego on the table, doesn't see that he's got this beautiful spiritual being right in front of him, and that is this week, okay? And it could also be with the full moon, you're reviewing these moments in your life of where you've been in a relationship, situationship in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, where you have been Neptuned, I like to call it, being Neptuned. Like, you're so drunk in love with the ideal, the idea, the stars in your eyes, the fawning moments in our lives, and you don't even see the truth behind the mask. And that's what these squares are doing. Somebody, some situation, some moment in your life is on they bullshit. They are on they bullshit. And you just have to sit back and say, this is a transit, and the North Node's in Aries trying this, so that's very nice. This is supposed to be happening. Mercury's in retrograde, but this is a week. This is a week. Now, I'm in the comedy world. I've taken a step back. The comedy world has had some losses in the last 2 weeks. Happens often. It's happening a lot. And for those that are going through any sort of mental health issues, this is a week where you've got to have your dream team on board if you can. Reach out to the people that you can, because the other piece of this is when I see squares to Neptune, it can also be hard to see the shoreline. It can also be hard to see that you're not in this completely alone. It can also be hard to see that there is an ending to the storm. I wouldn't say that this week is a storm, but to the mental clutter, which can be very much apparent this week. There can be a lot of like, oh my God, there's a lot. I don't know even how to pick up and start. So just also know that you're not alone. But I just wanted to go into this episode and be as completely honest about this, because I was going to wait to record this episode, and I was seeing some stuff online, and I was like, you know what? This year has tested our hearts. And I think that it's important to know this as we head into 2024, because next year is numerology 8. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the next episode. But I do want to say it is about our heart power. It is about our inner strength. It is about holding that energy of our sacred heart. And so as this unfolds for us, it's also honoring the fact that what you thought was true, you may be far more powerful than what bullshit was being shown to you before. And I think that this is a really good week to honor that dream, because Neptune is our dream realm. So you may have some wild dreams this week. But it's also like seeing this Simone Biles interview, or her husband being interviewed, and how she was like put beneath him in this interview. It's so fucked up. I was just like, okay, I get it. I know what's going on. I see what's going on here. I fundamentally understand what I am witnessing in this interview. And yet, it's reflecting a bigger picture of the spiritual evolution that's going on. So this full moon isn't like an eclipse or a change or anything, a big change for us. It is a reminder as to where we still have to go, as to where this next year is leading us towards. And let me tell you, seeing this interview pissed me the fuck off, because it's just like, of course, a woman standing behind her man. It's just one of the highest achieving gymnasts ever, who literally, I believe, has like I don't know how to, like a specific gymnastics move named after her. It's wild. This shit's wild. We're being shown something and we're having to reflect upon it. Doesn't mean there's a solution to it this week. So I just want to put that out there. You might not have a lot of solutions, but you might have a lot of, okay, all right, I see this, I see this, I see this, but how do we come to a consensus here? There is no consensus right now, and that's okay. So I just want to say that, especially if you're going through like, okay, somebody in the family's on their bullshit yet again. This text got sent out at Thanksgiving time. There were squares to Neptune around that time as well. And now it's, as I'm recording this, it is pouring down rain where I'm at. So let me also just say, the 29th we have Venus enter Sagittarius. So we're clearing up all that Scorpio. We have been with Scorpio for a huge part of 2023. And finally, Venus, who has been in Scorpio, is entering Sagittarius. So we are also going to see these squares with Neptune, with Venus down the road in 2024. But I also want to note that on the same day, prior to Venus entering the sign of Sagittarius, there's a beautiful sextile, so that's like a friendship connection, between Venus at 29 Scorpio and Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. I love this. I think it's enlightening. I think it's a nod to the evolution. I think it's very synchronistic that it's literally the day after the exact conjunction of Mercury and Mars and the exact square between Mars and Neptune. I think it's so just like, okay, universe, I see you. The universe sees us. Like, it's just, it's beauty. It's like chef's kiss astrology. It's just like, okay, I'm loving this. And what it's going to do for us is it's just giving us that reflective nod of like, okay, you went through hell. You went through hell to see the light. Now light a candle. You went through the underworld. You put your heart through the fucking, what is it? Love is a battlefield. Love is a battlefield right here. But you've got the bravery and the courage to get through this. And so I also want to note that this week brings us some gifts, because on the 30th, Jupiter goes direct in the sign of Taurus. And I do think that that gives us this culmination of 2023. I do think when I looked at the transits of the year and I saw that like the last few days of 2023 Jupiter goes direct, and then the first day of the year Mercury goes direct, I was just like, okay, something beyond us is letting us know we were meant to do 2023 the way it was done. So just note that. However your 2023 went, you might have made some plans and those plans went to shit. Especially during Venus retrograde, which was a bulk of our summer and into October. But the thing is, if you made plans this year and just everything went either which way, just know it was its own movie. It was its own storyline. It was its own thing. If you had like the best year of your life and kicked ass, fuck yes. But if you are somebody that's like, I was spiritually lost, I was on a sojourn, I was on this personal journey, just know it was totally supposed to go this way, and you chose your own adventure and you went one way, and then for some reason that trail was blocked and you had to go on a detour. And that's okay. There's a lot of people, and I've done a lot of readings this year. So many people have had to go on a lot of detours in 2023. And with Jupiter going direct, that is literally a spiritual blessing, especially this week when we have the Sun trine Jupiter. I love this. I really do think it's your Christmas gift, it's your holiday gift, it's your Yule log, whatever you celebrate. It is a way of saying we are bringing in these big sacred blessings. And on the same day, the 30th, Venus at 0 degrees of Sagittarius is sesquiquadrate Chiron. Now, the tension with that is you may be over idealistic, and I think the lesson there is saying embrace the pain you went through, also knowing that life is life. And I think one of the hardest lessons for me this year is actually appreciating joy, life, happiness, leaning into what really makes me happy as opposed to what I think other people would expect happiness to be for me. And I think that could be a theme this week for a lot of people. And just timing alone as we head into the new year, a lot of people are really hard on themselves when it comes to entering a new year. So I just want to say that is part of this, but on the same day with Jupiter going direct, anytime I see active Jupiter, I'm like, well, Jupiter kind of trumps it all. And so I would lean into that. And so with that, I just want to say happy holidays. Like, I hope that you're doing well. Let me know if you have any questions for me. I am heading into the final week of 2023. All my readings are still 10% off. That is on my Linktree, Linktree/Trustyourglitter. I do want to say I don't have a 10% off button, so just send me a booking request and I will send you a confirmation. And that's what I'm doing right now. Again, ground up business, bare bones, but we're making it work. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure. I will have some surprise episodes as we head through the week. So be on the lookout for that. I also want to thank. Okay. Can I just get into some feels? Let me get some water. Normally I record this during the day, so it's like night. And, but I just want to say, okay. So this podcast, I have no idea how my podcast is doing so well on Chartable. And I was having a week, as we do, and I got my Chartable stats in, and I just want to say thank you so much for listening to Trust Your Glitter, because your listens, your likes, your reviews, your shares, they count. And this podcast, okay, made the charts in the United States, has been consistently making the charts in Finland. So I just want to say a shout out again to listeners in Finland. Thank you so much. And is making charts in Czech Republic. So I just want to say this, I don't know. I just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you have any suggestions for me, like, this is exciting to me. I will say, if you can, go to Apple, go to Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and just rate and review my podcast. That would mean the world to me. If you would like to rate and review my podcast and just leave me a review, I will pull a tarot card on the podcast for you. So just, if I see your name, just let me know in the review, or let me know through my Linktree that you sent a review with like a screenshot of your review, and I will pull a tarot card on the podcast because I think it's so cool. I just, this is, and if you hear it raining, it is pouring down rain. This is a labor of love, and I love this little podcast. And so, yeah, thank you so much, and have an amazing holiday season. Take care.